All right, hey you guys, it's your girl Jamekia, and I am coming to you for another lovely video. All right, so today we're going to be talking about SAOs for you wonderful teachers. So, excuse me. Oh, y'all, I was trying to do a whole lot of other things, and my computer was like, stop, you can't do that. All right, so an SAO for teachers and administration is your student achievement objectives. And what Polk County started to do, because of course I told you guys I'm teaching from the state of Florida and or teaching based off of the state of Florida and more specifically Polk County because that's where I worked at. So what they did was they pushed out this thing called SAO, student achievement objectives. And it was to take the place of the VAM scores. And don't let me lie, I do not know what VAM stands for. Yeah, I don't remember for real. But anyway, so what the VAM scores were, just to give you a little brief understanding of it, it was a way for the teacher to be graded or assessed based off of not only what was seen throughout the year in her classes, but also what her students did as far as like holistic. This included every student with however many periods she had or whatever. In my school, we had 7 periods. And most teachers only had 6 because one was the planning period. But pretty much this allowed them to get a grand view of how of judging the teacher based on each and every student. So it gave you a synopsis of what was an assessment of what the students knew and didn't know and whatever else. It is what it is, you guys. Like even with SAO, it kind of is what it is. And the reason why I say that is because look, let's just be honest real quick and real fast before we jump into this SEO. Um, I was gonna say shiznit, but that's real hood for some of y'all. But but in all honesty, right? When you're a teacher, and I want to give y'all a history lesson, but I really don't. So let's see how brief I can make it. Teachers used to be tenured individuals. So tenured means that you have earned your way into a position where now it takes a little bit more for them to get rid of you. And so because of this, because of a lot of teachers being tenured and then not actually teaching students or not, and I don't even want to say not teaching students because teachers did what they did, but because they felt that they were tenured and they could not be, it had to be a lot more for them to be removed from their positions. There were some people, and again, history can history is history. It is what it is. Like every story is different. But there were some individuals who felt that a lot of teachers were more of a disadvantage in certain areas. And especially when we talk about lower income individuals. And I can honestly say I remember this when I was in school, where I have had teachers who were like, well, I have a job, you learn or you don't learn, that's up to you. And although um it sounds rude, right? It really was factual. And at the same time, it was a disadvantage to those students who really wanted to learn and was trying to learn, but couldn't based off of the environment that really wasn't conducive to learning. From my own personal experience, I remember being in a Spanish class, and this particular individual was like, "Well, I have my degree, I have my paper," and I'll understand. I said the same thing too in class before, but this particular person just sat down and stopped teaching because it was like I can just be here and collect the check. I never did that per se. Um, I just took the students who wanted to learn and taught them, and the others who, once you get to a certain point, sometimes you have to prove a point to students that if you don't want to learn, you don't have to. This is on you, because I can teach, but I can't learn for you. But anyway, that's just the little ramble for you guys. But to I'm probably gonna do this separate, y'all. I'm gonna do 2 videos because I don't want this to be like jaded. But this is just to give y'all a brief overview of some things. So as a teacher, as an educator, there's really only so much you can do. You can put together all the information, you can teach the students as much as possible, what it is that you can present that information to them, but you can't force them to learn. If a student isn't doing their part in the learning process, no matter how many times you call their parents, or you reprimand them or whatever else, um you just can't give up and not teach. That's one of the things I guess I want to say to a lot of teachers. Don't give up and not teach. Make sure that you're still doing your part. Make sure that you document everything. That's very vital, very important. Please be sure to document everything that you do. But there are students in your class who really want to learn. And so do what you can to make the class as conducive to learning as possible. Yes, for those of you who don't know about SAOs or VAM scores or whatever, I used to always stick to VAM scores over SAOs until it got to a point where which was last year, where we could not do that because everything was new, the new way of testing, which changed it from testing once a year or at the end of the year to 3 or 4 times throughout the year. We had to keep up with our students' work and documentations and all these other things. And so I did it. I probably wasn't the biggest fan of it. Um, but I did it. And I think for those who come into education who were not an education major, some of the things are a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to definitely, not in this video because I went on a little rant, I'm going to definitely create another video and post it up and actually go over the SAO content, like the information, what you should know. And then I'll probably do a third video and actually show you some of my own stuff. And we're going to lose this lovely background because it's a virtual background, if you don't already know. And my background is just plain. It's gray. It's a wall. But anyway, y'all, this little piece is a short little video, but I had to do a little rant. So let me see if I can salvage this as much as possible. Even though they've done away with VAM scores and now teachers are responsible for their student scores, there's a way that you can, as a teacher, hold your students accountable so that they understand that yes, you do have testing. Yes, it may seem a certain way because I think that throughout my years of teaching, a lot of times people hear online or they hear on TV or whatever that these scores aren't going to matter, or there's all this information that's out there. But I always told my students, my 8th grade students, that if it doesn't matter now, it didn't matter then. And I was like, but the thing about it, and this is something that you can tell your students as well, is that the scores are a representation of you and what you have the capability to learn when you are not in a room to speak for yourself. So as far as the scores, yes, they may compare them to the nation or the county or whatever else, but you don't compare yourself to anybody else. When you sit down to take the test, you're always in a place where you're trying to see that there's been growth within you. You're always trying to become a better version of yourself. And as long as you focus on being a better version of yourself, whether your number stays the same or it increases or it decreases, whatever it may be, the at the end of the day, did you learn something? Did you feel that you excelled? And do you feel that you can always do a little bit better? Because our goal is just to get a little bit better than we were the day before. And I think that is a valuable place to hold yourself and to hold your students when you have data chats and you have the time and opportunity to really sit down and get to know that person in front of you, that individual in front of you. And as you go over numbers, you can show them where they need to be or where they should be, based off of the county or the state or whatever else. But always have them look at their own personal scores the year before or the couple of months before or whatever else, and celebrate those small wins if they're steadily increasing. And if they're not, show them where they have those discrepancies, where they have issues at, and say, hey, let's create a goal. And what goal would you like to create for yourself? Allow them to actually have an investment in their own education. And I think that is how you will see your students start to really strive for the betterment of themselves. And then again, their community that they build. I don't know if I talked about this in another video yet, but if y'all follow me on TikTok, you'll see me actually have conversations with some of my students, and I had them to choose, two peers within the classroom who they can build as a support system. When you're struggling, who can you talk to? Who is your friend, or who is an individual who's going to challenge you to do little bit better, or who's someone who can hold you accountable, and how can this person hold you accountable? I did that as a bell work assessment for my students. So I had them again choose two peers, and then they answered question like, who's this person in this classroom, a person or two people, maximum three, that can hold you accountable, or who you feel most comfortable talking with, and how do you like to be held accountable? Some people like for people to yell at them and they don't know it, and I need you to be aware of that. Some people like for people to talk softly to them. Some people like for people to help them and guide them. So how are you, do you know what you like and what you need, and then how can this individual help you? And of course, a lot of the kids would try to put my name on it, and I'm like, no, I'm your third line of defense. So the first line is your peers, the second line would be your parents, and then I'm the third line of defense. And I say that we can use it interchangeably as it goes, but when I say I'm your third line of defense, if it has to come, I'm there the whole time, but if it has to come back to me where your peers aren't really assisting you the way that you think, your parents, because some parents are not as involved or don't care or don't know how to manage their own children, then I now have to put in um my own skills and my own strategies to help you get to where you need to be. But you do have to understand that you have to hold yourself responsible first. So all of this is to put accountability back on the student, and which helps the student to achieve greater and to be more responsive in their own learning, which creates responsibility. Responsibility is just the way that you respond to your ability to respond to certain situations. And so knowing this allows us to create processes to help students learn and achieve. So I said all that to hopefully get something across to y'all, because I totally went down left field, got lost a little bit, and look, I lost a little bit, but was really directed. I think it had to happen. But again, we're gonna go through again on the next video and talk about the SAOs. But I apologize, y'all. It is what it is. Went on a rant. Let's save it. So, know why you guys have to do SAOs and things. Know that you do need to collect information from your students. Know that you need to be involved and understand who your students are as you serve them. Because yes, as a teacher, you are a leader. You are, I don't like to say a boss. You do manage behavior, you manage skills, but you're a leader, and it starts with you and understanding how you are able to assist these many adults. Because I look at my students as many adults. How are you able to assist these many adults in creating responses, and giving them the ability to respond to not only themselves but to others as well? And then, because you have to create an environment that's conducive to learning, and then start to learn. So I always start with emotional intelligence first, and then we start to dive into the learning process, and then we evolve as individuals by the continuing these strategies and processes that I myself has formulated for this environment, for this classroom. So you first as a teacher have to create your own strategies and formulations, and then you disseminate it out into students. Ultimately you're the grand teacher, right? You have to teach them emotional concepts, you teach them whatever the information is, you teach them skills and strategies as well. But understand that you need to have a full grasp on all the aspects of those areas before you can actually deliver it out to a student who's willing to listen. And allow there to be just a tad bit of vulnerability there, so that they can understand you as a human, because they see you as something more than what you really are. I don't know how else to say it. Like, we're all individuals, we're all people. And so if you understand that, they'll start to understand that as well. And you'll see a change in your students, especially if you deal with um a lot of behavior issues. I'm not saying you got to be extra soft, because sometimes that doesn't work, but it's about balancing being firm and direct, um and understanding your own boundaries and how that works out. So we'll dive into a lot of these different things as we go along, but I'm going to stop this video here. I'm going to restart, and we're going to dive right into SAOs. I'm not going to try to do a back history or anything like that. All right. Love y'all. Bye. Wrong button, y'all. Sorry. Screen.